Great. So why am I here today? I'm here, usually I'll present to you on marketing programs and their rah-rah presentations. Today's meeting is not like that. And today's presentation is not like that. What I'm here to talk to you today is about advertising compliance, because the story you just saw wouldn't have happened not only if we were following up and doing the services that Brian or your group will talk to you about today, but also if our advertising message matched what we were doing, and if the individual dealers in a market knew what that message was and were following it. I'm here to talk to you about compliance today, and we'll go through and we'll talk about the advertising policy. But before I do, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of the reasons why compliance is so important to us. I had a franchisee approach me about doing a promotion. They wanted to give out a free year of maintenance with any major service. Great promotion, great idea, but if they just produced it without vetting it through us, that exposure could be to centers that don't want to participate in that. And it's not disclaimed properly. The franchisee wasn't thinking that what would happen if somebody had a BMW that was due for a 90,000 service. That's maintenance, factory scheduled maintenance. If it's not disclosed, you may be on the hook for a very large maintenance program. Or if you don't offer that to the customer, you could get in trouble or get a fellow aamco franchisee in trouble. So what's on the air is exposed to other folks, and showing those commercials, and you see that the commercials were shown during the segment. Very important that we get those under compliance. Also for our brand standards, that we've done a lot of research in what's going into the commercials, and we want to make sure that these are compliant. Everything that runs is compliant with our brand standards as well. And on the internet, where exposure is much more universal, it's very important that you do not create websites, that you do not create coupons or offers online or ads online that are not standard and not approved by aamco, because the exposure is so universal. In fact, if you saw in the story, they showed a coupon from the internet online, on the story, and that wasn't even from the market that the story was. Thankfully, it was one that we had vetted, but it's very easy for a reporter who is very lazy to pull anything they find on the internet and say, hey, this was not disclosed properly. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is compliance. As you'll see from the agenda, we've got our advertising policy and compliance overview, and I'll go over the policy and what it is. That'll include television and radio. And then separately in 2009 and posted on the My aamco, you will see our internet policy that goes over your website development, that goes over your search engine optimization, that tells you the approved firms, that also talks about Google Places and social media. Then we'll go over some penalties for those policy violations. So what is the current environment on TV? Well, we do know in a lot of markets, we have dealers that are running their homemade commercials. They are creating commercials on their own, either by the cable company or by another firm, that are not NCC produced materials. They are also disclosed with offers that may not be approved by us. That's especially prevalent on radio, where it's easier and cheaper to produce something locally, and there are radio commercials, many times testimonials, that have a DJ giving you a offer or reading something out, and it's not properly disclosed, or it's off of brand standard. These many times lack those proper disclosures that are required, and they're inconsistent with the brand message, either that we're doing nationally or also an offer that the pool is running locally. And then we've run into situations where the talent and or the music used, that the license for those has expired. And we've had the different organizations, actors, music studios come to us looking for massive dollar settlements over a franchisee that used a photograph, that used an image, that used an actor, or that has used music beyond the license. That's the current environment. So the policy was developed to prevent that from happening, to also provide an outline of what you can do locally. So right now, the policy, we will only approve NCC creative. We will not approve during this environment. We will not approve any locally produced creative. We do not want it. We will approve certainly DJ testimonial radio, but we must see a script. We must understand and listen to an air check to make sure no music is being used that is owned and or is licensed by aamco that may have expired. And we must approve the tags. Any tags, any special offers must be approved by us with proper disclosures. The use of commercials on the internet. A lot of folks will ask you, a lot of the companies will say, hey, let's run some commercials on YouTube for you. Let's produce this for you. Again, only what has been approved by NCC and is on our site, our FTP site, are the only commercials that we will approve on use for the internet. That is very critical because that's where we got nailed with the licensing issues. And in light of the current environment, even if you've previously approved a commercial or we've previously approved a commercial, we will need you to resubmit it for approval. So all commercials must be resubmitted for approval. That's to keep another story from happening in the future. So what are some typical objections I hear from franchisees? Number one, I hear, where does it say in my franchise agreement that I have to use the NCC commercials? Well, I'll tell you where it says that. In section 11, paragraph 2, franchisee agrees that all advertising must be approved by aamco in advance of its use, and franchisee agrees not to use any advertising unless and until such has been approved in writing by aamco. That means if it's out there, it needs to be approved by us. If it's not NCC materials, we won't approve it. Sometimes I hear I don't like the creative. My cousin, my agency, my fishing buddy, they all can make me a spot that I do like. To that I'll answer, it's not what you like, it's what your customers are most likely to respond to. And the NCC has research behind the creative, both quantitative and focus groups, that shows this is the most likely creative offers, etc., that will get responded to by your customers. One of the objections I get is my local ads work better than the NCC material. Well, actually we've done some reporting on that, and not according to the average weekly grosses data that we see, and definitely not in the long term. We have carefully built the aamco brand through exhaustive research and quality creative. Your message is not based on research, it's not aamco's quality standards, and it's not going to be approved. Another objection I hear is, but you don't understand what works here in Podunk. Well, I'll explain that the biggest strength that you have against the independents in Podunk or wherever you are is your national affiliation with the powerful aamco brand. The national warranty, our 50-year history, and the trust that comes with those benefits. So if you want to stretch your community stuff, do it at the center level. Don't do it on your ad messages. You're only hurting yourself and it won't be approved. Finally, I want to do my own thing. So why do I have to be part of the ad pool? Well, it's neither aamco nor the ad pool select which market your center is in. This is designated by your county and by the Nielsen rating service. They indicate in every county, in every state across the country is located within a DMA, and your center, based on its county location, is in that DMA. You are fully responsible for payment to the ad pool and fully responsible to participate in the ad pool's program. Those are some typical objections I get on the TV side of the fence. So let's talk about what we're doing, ATI, as part of our disclosure process. We took all of our current messaging and we're having that reviewed not only by our own internal general counsel, and it has been approved all along by previous general counsels and internally. But what we've also done is we've hired Bill McLeod of Kelly Dry to re-review all disclosures and all processes. He's the former director of the FTC's Consumer Protection Bureau. That's huge. So we are going to be able to get support from an outside firm that knows this is what the FTC will flag so that we can pull back from that, or this is what the FTC would be okay with. It's mission critical that we do that. Bill was selected as one of the best lawyers in America in advertising law. So we have Bill reviewing all of the disclosures. Those are the only disclosures that will be approved. So what are the penalties for violations? The full liability of the message. First and foremost, full liability of the message falls on the ad pool chairman and or the agency or dealer that's running that message. If you're running something that's unapproved and an AG comes after that message, you can't fall back on aamco. It will not have been approved. All approvals will be in writing. There will be an escalating series of penalties, and aamco will pursue all legal remedies to stop unauthorized advertising up to and including the termination of your franchise. Guys, we are very serious about this. How about the internet? On the internet, there is a lot of unapproved coupons and offers without the proper disclosures of services. Every day I talk to ad pools and I talk to different dealers who are showing me a different website from a dealer that does not have proper disclosures, that is an offer that has not been approved, and we need to go and stop that. There's also, from a basis when I get an ad pool chairman or a dealer saying, Which vendor should I use? Well, I don't have a central management of the performance data because I have these different firms out there. We are going to a central management system so we can provide the best template for you, the AAMCO dealer. There's no brand integrity. Unlike other media, the internet is universal. You may be able to do a Valpak just in your area and there's no exposure outside of your market, but on the internet there's exposure there when somebody searches AAMCO. And again, that's not our brand. Right now we are approving 2 firms, and those firms will have the approved AAMCO look. There is a huge benefit in being part of a brand and being part of a national chain like AAMCO, and the uniformity of that brand and how it looks from California all the way out to the East Coast is very important that there is uniformity because it will only benefit you. In pay-per-click, there's self-competition between dealers, and there's rogue dealers that are out there poaching leads from other AAMCO centers. And finally, if a dealer exits the system and if he has not followed the policy, then we have no control over his listing, over his website, and that website can go to a competitor. We've had listings get locked out so that we can't get in them, we can't delete them, we can't change them to a new owner. We require all of that to be in our account so that we can manage it. So our policy on internet, social media, and local listings is this. When it comes to search engine marketing, online promotions, website development, social media, and any mobile applications, there are only 2 current approved providers, PW Media and Reach Local. When it comes to your local listings, no dealer or ad pool can hire any firm or can do it on their own, manage this space. DAC Group currently is the only authorized vendor. This vendor is even paid for by the NCC, so you don't have to pay directly. And we have an entire service ticketing system set up for you so that you can make changes through DAC Group. You cannot touch this space. Related to social media, Facebook and the like, we recommend that you link to the AAMCO page. The NCC invested in the Facebook program and the Purple Heart charity program so that we can develop positive content and that we can develop and manage good content and manage the back and forth with our customers on Facebook for you to link to. If you are going to do anything locally, the only firm approved to work social media is Corvus, who was the one driving our social media strategy nationally. When it comes to domain names, any domain name, if it has AAMCO in it, or if it points to a website that has the AAMCO trademark, it must be in AAMCO's GoDaddy account. We will take it into our account, and then we will steer it to whatever IP address that you want us to, but we must have it in our account. And finally, at this time, no other firm is going to be approved for use to do anything until we get all of the markets and all of the centers into the same program. At that point, we may or may not look for alternative firms based upon performance, but it won't be locally, and any tests out there must be authorized by AAMCO. Okay, the most typical objection that I get on the internet is I don't like either of the approved companies. Well, PW and Reach Local were chosen by you, the dealers. 70% of the chain were working with one or the other. We're also working directly with Google for best practices, and we will communicate to only these 2 approved firms the best practices that we hear from Google. I hear a lot of times we should have more than 2 approved companies. Well, if we had 3, then there would be clamor for the 4th, and et cetera, and et cetera. Once we have successfully gotten everyone working with one or the other approved vendor, then ATI will consider whether 2 or even just 1 vendor is the smartest solution for the AAMCO online brand. I get my firm was previously approved. Am I grandfathered in? And I'll explain that no other firms are grandfathered in. The approach ATI has taken was to work first with all the ad pools as they were electing new firms and then getting rid of the firms that were never authorized. Now that we're through that stage, we are now transferring those final accounts to one of the 2 approved firms. If your market and or yourself are using an unapproved firms outside of those 2, you will be the next that we will contact so that we can get you into compliance. The next question is, I don't like who the ad pool is using. Can I use another firm? And again, just like in advertising, you are required to use the same provider as the ad pool is using. You can certainly supplement what the ad pool is doing, but you must do so through the firm that your pool is using, PW Media or Reach Local. This ensures coordination between the programs and makes sure that the message and the brand voice are the same for both local and for the entire ad pool. Finally, I hear this other dealer has his or her own site. Why can't I? Well, we are well in the process of getting the unapproved sites and campaigns down to the 2 vendors. This has been a huge and time-consuming effort that is ongoing. We will get to all of these, I assure you. So what are the penalties? These penalties are all outlined online and also in the internet advertising policy that is on myamco.com. The first thing that we did is we hired Plave Coach. They're an outside counsel that is going to help us with the compliance issues. The first offense that we will work with them would be written notification from us, from the marketing department, letting you know that you are out of compliance. The second offense would be a suspension of advertising rights for 30 days and site redirection, so your website would then go to aamco.com. That's when we would engage Plave Coach to begin the process of administering the compliance issue. Your third offense would be suspension of your advertising rights for 6 months and site redirection to aamco.com. We have a relationship directly with Google, and we will get Google to remove your ad as an unapproved use of our trademark online. The fourth offense is revocation of the right to advertise the AAMCO mark on the search engine publishers, period. And finally, we will use legal remedies, everything in our power, up to termination of the franchise. And by the way, as all of this is going on, once we engage Plave Coach in working with you to get this done, you will be responsible for all of the legal costs. So again, we are very, very serious about our brand standards. We are very serious about, getting compliance. It's in your best interest. It's in the chain's best interest. This is the direction we're moving in. These are policies that have been out there, but we are very serious about making sure that these are followed now. Thank you very much for your time.